Hello, Steve White, Steve Arts 89. Well, I'm still sort of celebrating Friday the 13th for October 2023, and I finally got to watch the sequel to Don't Go Hiking Alone, Don't Go Hiking Alone 2. It came out annoyingly around between, I don't know, 7 to 10 London time, which was sometime in the morning here in Australia. So basically I got up and had been out for about an hour, but I didn't want to watch it in the morning, so I ended up waiting until the evening and actually decided to watch the first film, well, the first two short films which were edited together into one film, and this film together, and making a bit of a night out of it. It was okay. There were some issues. I mean, overall it was good. So far as fan films go, the production was great. The cinematography, the acting, the special effects, a lot of things were really great. A few things were a little bit off. It was kind of strange. The film kind of picked up, I mean, didn't pick up exactly where it left off. It sort of backtracked. It went back a few months back to, we see Tommy going up to the camp, and you assume it's after the last guy was found and the events of the last film and the attack on the ambulance by Jason. And then, of course, the sheriff shows up, they have another confrontation, and then you actually see the hiker in the background watching all this, and this is before he goes hiking, so this was 3 months ago. And then they jump 3 months ahead, and the mother of the hiker who died in the snow, was killed in the snow by Jason, she actually has shown up for work, basically. She's gone back to work after 3 months, and Tommy and her work in the same hospital and everything. And Jason is, well, he hasn't committed the attack yet on the hiker, and you see them get called out and go, and you see sort of the other side of the end of the last film, which is a bit awkward because they have a different actor playing Axel, and why they called him Axel when Axel, the actual character, was much older and died, and why they'd have a character with the same name didn't really make any sense. But now they had a different actor playing him, and they reshot some parts of it, and considering I just watched it like just before that, it sort of showed. I'm not sure why they would have done that, because it just sort of, yeah, so we spent a lot of time just getting back to where we were. It took about, I think, 20 minutes to get back to where we were at the end of the last film, and I'm like, we've only got an hour and 12 minutes. You know, we don't get, this is like the second, or third short film in this story, and I don't feel like we had all that time to waste, but they did. So eventually he drives off, and all of a sudden it's daytime, and I'm like, what? I'm like, I guess it's a long distance from Camp Crystal Lake into the town. It took a while, maybe it was just near dawn. And then he stops and he gets out his rifle, like expects Jason to be right there. I'm like, you're obviously miles and miles away. He's going to be nowhere near you. And all of a sudden he's there, because I guess he just drove down the road and suddenly it's daytime. And I'm like, production issue. And then he drives off to the hospital, which I'm like, why didn't you do that in the first place? Why did you stop? It didn't make any sense that Tommy would do that. They get there, the guy goes into surgery. There's a lot of strangeness with Tommy reports Jason, but then he's acting like it was an accident and he's not telling people what happened. And I'm like, why is he suddenly pretending like, I mean, it doesn't sort of it's not really consistent. He eventually talks to the mother and confides in her what happened. And they look through one of the cameras that the hiker had, and they actually they see Jason's mother's head, that when he's found that in the camp. And he has this idea that if he destroys the mother's head, it'll break the connection between Jason and her and what keeps bringing him back from the dead, which is an interesting idea, but it's sort of a bit of a MacGuffin. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm thinking, well, what else could they do? What would I have done if I was writing this film? I'm not sure, but that's how they chose to go. So they're trying to get the hiker back out to show them where he found the head, so they can destroy it. And of course, the sheriff shows up. There's a confrontation. He thinks that Tommy did this and he did the original crimes, and he's been sort of blaming him for it the whole time. And just when he's confronting him, and the hiker's like, no, Jason's real, I saw him. And the mother was actually having a go at the sheriff because he didn't tell her the truth about what happened to her son. And then all of a sudden, it sounds like there's a lightning strike, and suddenly the whole building is bathed in red light, like it's emergency lighting or something, I don't know. And then Jason comes in. He starts slashing and killing everyone. The main cast sort of runs. They get out into the car park, and he's been destroying all the cars, so they can't get away. Eventually the sheriff distracts them. He basically sacrifices himself, and he joins a long line of people just shooting him in the chest. Like, that ever works? And I don't mean like, well, of course, how do they know in a past film, but just 2 minutes ago someone did the same thing and didn't do anything. Shoot him in the head. The body can't move if the head isn't, working, isn't attached, is like, why that? So, yeah. So he does actually shoot him once in the head, but he still ends up killing the sheriff and just splattering his head. They get away. They go back to the camp. They find the head. Jason shows up, and it's really strange. Another thing that doesn't make sense. As soon as they drive off, they show Jason at the camp walking into the water. I'm like, how did he get there? He was just like a minute ago, literally at the hospital. Because they don't play on a supernatural element like Friday Part 8 did. So if they were going to do that, they needed to establish he's a ghost, not an actual physical being. Because that's the only way you could move around like that. But so he comes after them. We have a bit of repetition, like the same area. The guy goes out the door in the same way, and they both end up getting injured. Tommy fights him off. And eventually the hiker has the head. Jason comes for him, and he actually slashes his mother's head in half. And it just sort of cracks in half. And I sort of thought maybe it would disintegrate like dust or something, but it just sort of falls apart like a shell, and there's sort of like string sort of stuffing inside of it, something. I'm like, what is that? And then he sees the apparition of his mother in the water, and he's looking at her, and she doesn't look a lot like Pamela, and she's got long hair, and he's just sort of is distracted by that. And finally, Tommy does what he should have done ages ago. He chops Jason's head right off, just like Michael Myers in H2O. The real H2O before they made the sequel and backtracked and changed everything. And he just falls into the water. And then it's all on the news, what's happened. They go collect all the bodies and everything, and the mother identifies her son, and apparently Jason's body just stays in the lake, and it's just floated over the other side. The hiker and Tommy have a nice little goodbye bro chat, and he asks him what he wants to do with the camera, which has images of, I think, Jason at this point or something. He says, it's behind me. So the guy throws it in the lake, and they go off, they leave. And what we see is Jason's body under the water, in very shallow water, with his head detached, and the camera in between the head and the body. And we see some bubbles come up from Jason's, out from under the mask. So the assumption is he's still alive somehow. So of course, they haven't really ended it on some way, because he's always been able to heal himself, but can he reattach his head? Can he actually, I don't know. But that's kind of the end, and that was about 6 past, an hour and 6 minutes. I'm like, really? An hour and 12 minutes and 6 minutes is just credits? And they have this weird little thing. Instead of having some creepy scene of someone going back to the lake and finding Jason or something, they have this really annoying YouTuber doing this whole, hey, the hiking guy's gone, I'm going to go back and, go where the last place he was and find out what happened to him. And then that's the end of it. So someone's going to go to the lake to try and find him, and of course Jason's going to get him or something. They could have done it in a creepy Friday the 13th style. It comes across as just a kind of cringy sort of ghost hunters sort of, just reminded me of ghost chasers from Supernatural or something. Just that sort of lame internet sort of parody sort of thing. But and that's where it ends, and then the next like 5 minutes is just credits, which is mostly the names of the Indiegogo donators and everything. So I'm like, okay, I guess that's why the credits are so long. So we got a bit over an hour. We backtracked over a lot of stuff that was already there to get to like where we were before, and there were some interesting elements. There were some interesting scenes. There are a few good moments, like this moment where Jason cuts Tommy's like weapon in half and he just throws it at Jason's head and it bounces off. He doesn't even move. And just some of the language, some of the writing of the dialogue with Tommy, that was good. The sheriff was kind of interesting in a way, but I was a little disappointed by it in some ways. But other parts were really great. Other parts were kind of disappointing, and I sort of wanted something a bit different and a bit more. But all in all, it's kind of interesting. I didn't realise the kid at the front of the film, because we get two visions, like we saw it. It's basically the trailer, and this kid is actually supposed to be Tommy when he was young. And I'm like, that's supposed to be young, Corey Feldman Tommy, but I guess that's what that Tommy looked like. I don't know. So there are some elements of the production that really worked, and then some other ones that they just sort of dropped the ball, or they didn't have the level of quality with the writing that they had with the production and the acting, and that I kind of felt like but then I sort of thought myself, well, what would I do with that story? How would I make it work? I would have done a few things differently, and I'm not going to be that fan who thinks they can do better and tell people how it should have been done, because that's always cringe. But there was room for that, and I'm like, I was sort of expecting just to be just in it and enjoying it, and not sort of looking at it like, why is this happening? Why is that happening? Why are we back with the hiker again? And why is this person? So there's a bit of that, but overall it was good. Now I know what it is. I'll enjoy more watching it the next time, because I'm not sort of going to be disappointed or surprised or expecting something different. I can just be like, I know what it is, and I can just sort of enjoy it for what it is. And it's nice to have it. It's like an extra little sort of movie to sort of watch after the other Jason films. It doesn't quite take the place of another Jason film. I think it could have, if they'd been more focused on what they were doing. But it's very difficult to do that sort of thing with a fan film, where you're raising money and trying to do stuff with people, that are volunteering. And you've got, I guess, the what was in the middle of this in 2020, because the second film was supposed to be 2021 or something, so they got delayed and so forth, and you can understand how all that went. So it's probably how they lost one of the actors. They probably couldn't be there, blah, blah, blah. So overall, I enjoyed it. It was good. I'm going to enjoy it more in the future. It's going to be a nice addition to my annual Friday the 13th marathons and that. But yeah. I'm going to go. Feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. Thanks. Bye.